One thing I discovered when I was 14, it's really hard to think straight when your life's spiraling dangerously out of control. Maybe that sounds a bit dramatic, and maybe I'll get to the end of this and you'll be like, Yal, it was only soccer. But let me make it clear, it wasn't only soccer, it was my life. Because you know what it's like when you're at that age, and maybe you see it with your own kids. You're obsessed with the game, off seasons are pure torture, and every new season brings a promise of glory. And then there's that fire in your belly that makes winning feel more important than breathing and makes losing the most unbearable thing on earth. And let me make it clear, I'm not talking about just losing a game. I'm talking about a downward spiral that ended with losing everything. My hope, my passion, and my future career as a professional soccer player. And I'm telling you that because it can happen to any soccer mad kid, even if they've got talent, even if they go out every match loving the game and loving the experience. In fact, if you think your child is a talented soccer player, you've got to be extra careful because they're the ones most at risk. The stats don't make good reading. From the freshman year onwards, a shocking 45% of kids will drop out. And it's not because they weren't good enough. They were skilled, they trained hard, they were good kids, but they were missing something crucial that would keep them on the roster, help them make the college team, and maybe even win them a dream scholarship. And it would certainly have helped grab the attention of scouts. I know because I was one of those statistics. This is me. It's weird looking back at these clippings. According to the national press, I was a rising 14-year-old superstar. Turkish delight, they called me. According to other people, I had it all. Skill, power, pace, an eye for pass. Even soccer people said I was the next big thing. But under the surface, it wasn't smooth sailing. Like the millions of American kids who give up on their dream sport every year, I had a big problem. Somewhere along the way, I'd made a powerful enemy. This enemy seemed hell-bent on seeing me fail. You may have seen your kid get this treatment out on the field. One player gets sent to do a job on you, and everywhere you go on the field, they go too. The idea is to stick to you like glue, to man-mark you out of the game. Except, this marker didn't just mark me out of one game. He marked me out of my entire soccer career. He'd turn up and sabotage every game I played. When I trained, he'd be there getting in my way, making me look bad. If I was benched, he'd be there turning the screws. At the minute I stepped into the soccer field, he'd be all over me like a rash. He'd even follow me home to make my life a living nightmare. Eventually it got so bad I saw him everywhere I went, and his face has stayed with me to this day, because you never forget your nemesis. I've even got his picture. It was me. I was my own worst enemy. I was judge, jury, and chief executioner. And do you know the hardest thing about being your own worst enemy? You feel like no one can help you. Not your coaches, not your parents, not even your teammates. But here's what happened, and what's going to happen to your kid if they fall into the same trap I did. You just stop winning, and not for any good reason. The start can be the smallest, most insignificant thing. A poor shot, a misplaced pass, one bad decision that leads to a meaningless loss. But for some strange reason it sticks to you like glue. And a bad game that any other day you'd shake off starts as a dangerous downward spiral that leads to a catastrophic loss of form. For me, that spiral destroyed my young life as a soccer player. For a large percentage of American kids like yours, it will destroy their form and passion for the game until one day they just give up, often never returning to any sport ever again. Of course, I was young, so when the game seemed to vanish, I did what any other soccer-mad teenager would do. I trained harder. I practiced longer. Because I thought all I needed to do was to be fitter, stronger, and technically better than anyone else. I had no idea I was missing the crucial third side of the peak performance triangle. I mean, I was only 14. I didn't know the triangle even existed. How could I possibly even know everything I was doing to get better was actually damaging my chances of success, prolonging my suffering, and turning me into a worse player? The only person benefiting was my nemesis, that dark part of me that seemed to want to fail. The sad fact is, No matter how technically gifted you are or how fit they are, kids at that age don't have the experience to deal with a sudden, unexplained loss of form